What is happening there? JGame Dude here, and I am going to be talking about Star Wars in the Last Hope, as I have just managed to earn the Platinum Trophy for this accursed game that has taken me, so let's see, I started playing on the, give me a sec, the 23rd of March to the 12th of August, totaling at about 4 months and 2 weeks. Jesus Christ, it's actually been over 4 months. I thought I did it just under 4 months, but yeah. And having put 815 hours into this game, is it worth putting that sort of time into a game that isn't that good in terms of story, where the voice acting really just makes you want to rip your ears off and throw them out? No, not really. No, not really at all. So, for anyone who is actually looking to go after this, and just to kind of provide a little bit of background, the reason why I went for this platinum was to actually be able to get this platinum as like my 200th. So on PSN profiles, you can actually see your your milestones, and those sort of remain permanently on the right hand side. If you ever use PSN profiles, which if you're a trophy hunter, absolutely recommend using the site. And so I wanted the trophies that were there that were platinums to be like ones that looked A, really difficult, or B, really time consuming. And so that's why I decided to go for it. Was either going to be this Star Ocean The Last Hope, or it was going to be White Knight Chronicles 2, because White Knight Chronicles 1 was my 100th platinum, and that took me 782 or 84 hours, something along those lines. But Star Wars in the Last Hope was an absolute nightmare, just because of how things like the battle trophies were handled, and also how they handled the final dungeon in the game, which is called the Wandering Dungeon. So I do actually have a stream on YouTube right now of when I did actually get the unlock my platinum trophy. It was at the end of that stream, and then I just kind of ended it there because, to be completely honest, I was pretty damn exhausted, and I had already streamed for 4 hours by that point, which was just purely on the final planet alone, and most of it was just me grinding levels and then finally going for the final boss eventually. But yeah, and that was my chaos difficulty run through, because by that point I had already unlocked all the other trophies. So a couple of things about this platinum. One is, to save yourself the most amount of time, you're better off playing on normal, hard, and then chaos, but make sure you don't miss out on anything on normal difficulty, otherwise you'll need to do it on a second playthrough. So stuff like not getting all the characters' endings in a single playthrough, missing out on treasure chests, because that is what happened to me, and that's why I couldn't get all of the treasure chests in a single playthrough. Then you've got stuff like ship data, which is also missable, so you actually do absolutely need a guide if you're going to be playing this from beginning to end. Otherwise, you would be adding hundreds of hours of playtime if you miss anything, as I ended up doing just that. And even if you do discount all the missable stuff, which is a significant majority of the trophies, what doesn't cover that many amount of trophies in the actual game is what you are going to be spending most of your time doing, which is going for the battle trophies. And the way they set this up is that there's 9 total characters in the game. Each character has 100 battle trophies each, so they each have separate lists of battle trophies, and you need to actually play as that character to get that battle trophy. If the AI does something that warrants getting the battle trophy, it will not count. So you largely will be playing, as the main character during your first playthrough, and your second playthrough as a character called Face, who does leave your party maybe 2/3 of the way through the game. But if you do level him up, then the new character joins, who's an absolute beast and probably the best character in the game, hands down, will have the same level as when he left, though you won't get the SP back for however much you may have sunk into leveling up that character skills that's going to be leaving your party. That's probably the only real thing to keep in mind, but also there are so many points of no return in this game, especially after you go through like the first planet, which is Eos, the second, which is Limerus, and then from that point you will then go through 2 locations in which you cannot return, so you need to make sure you collect and do everything there, like kill all the enemies, at least one of each, to make sure that they're in your bestitary, and double check to make sure that you get all of the treasure chests, because you can miss out, which is Cardionon Mothership and Alternate Earth. But yeah, beyond that point, you're pretty much good as far as missables go. And of course, the sort of things that the game asks you to do is like, for Edge, he's got one battle trophy called Kill 30,000 Enemies. The guy who joins after the fact called Aramat, he also has a battle trophy that is Kill 30,000 Enemies. So already, you have to kill 60,000 enemies for just these 2 characters alone, and just imagine how many hours that would take, let alone probably the most difficult one, which is beating the strongest enemy in the game with one of the weakest characters in your party. She was, at least for me, the weakest character in my party, and also killing that same insanely tough boss with the weakest member of my party, or at least dealing the killing blow with the weakest member of my party within 10 minutes. So beat this. Okay, you know what? The main boss, the sort of the strongest enemy in the game is the Ethereal Queen. If you played a Star Ocean game, everyone should know that the Ethereal Queen is usually I say usually the strongest enemy in the game, but Star Ocean 3 kind of did mix that up a little bit, so that's the sole exception. But otherwise, she is the strongest in every other game that she does appear in. And so to kill the Ethereal Queen with Lim, who is the little girl of the party, is one battle trophy, and then another one is for beating the Ethereal Queen in under 10 minutes using her. So as long as the killing blow was done by Lim, it honestly doesn't matter who else you've been playing as during the entire fight. But it's still just annoyingly difficult, and I did do like 4 playthroughs of the game to do that, because the second playthrough was my easy mode, trying to accomplish that, but also do the stuff for the character who leaves your party to get all of his battle trophies. So yeah, you are playing yourself accordingly. But my biggest gripe of this game absolutely has to be the way they handled the Wandering Dungeon. Now, the Wandering Dungeon, it takes the piss. Pretty much it's 20 floors, where every even numbered floor you have to fight a boss, and the bosses remain the same. It's just that the structure of the floors do change because it's randomly generated. And on every odd numbered floor, which is also still very much randomly generated, you will need to find the exit, and then once you're at the exit will actually once you interact with it, it'll tell you this is the condition to actually unlock the exit to this floor. So you need to actually find the exit, find out what they want you to do to leave this floor, and then go through with it. And it does take multiple hours to get through, from floor 1 to floor 20, where the enemies do get progressively stronger, and none of the other enemies in the entire dungeon come close to the Ethereal Queen, who is the strongest enemy in the game and is the boss enemy at floor 20 and every second floor thereafter. And yeah, it just takes A, way too long, B, there's no save, you can't save in the middle of the dungeon, so if you leave you have to start from floor 1 all over again. And it's an endless dungeon. So like, say for instance, if say you hit floor 19 and the criteria for unlocking the exit is to destroy a bunch of crystals, you will have to, you complete that, you go to floor 20, you beat the Ethereal Queen, and then if you were to continue to keep going through the floors, the next floor will then be destroy crystals, then queen, destroy crystals, and then queen. So whatever the 19th floor asks you to do, you'll need to do the exact same thing for the following odd numbered floor that you keep going through. And also the fight against Ethereal Queen is absolute like bugger nuts because of one move that she has called Supernova, which is intended to insta-kill your entire party in a single attack. So it's a move that has massive range and pretty much insta-kills whatever is within range, which is why when you do fight her, you do actually want to keep your healer as far away from the queen as possible and split everyone up as much as you can. And of course there are, multiple different types of strategies that you could employ in order to keep it going. And it's not just that the time commitment of this dungeon is kind of what pisses me off, but it's that some of these criteria ask you to do insane things, because the criteria, as well as how much of set criteria you need to do, is also randomly generated. There's one very specific criteria where you need to provide geostones, which is the rarest drop that an enemy in the Wandering Dungeon can give you. You can keep fighting enemies over and over again and not get a lot of geostones. Some people will get incredibly lucky and get large amounts. I was more on the unlucky side and I didn't see a lot of those items. And so if you jump into the first floor and they ask you for 18 of the buggers, that's enough for you to just turn around and be like, I am going to restart this dungeon, because getting 18 takes way too damn long. So the way geostones is handled is the maximum you can hold is 20. They are key items, so you can't duplicate them with the duplicate skill in the game, which is absolutely integral to creating one of every item in the game, which is also a trophy on its own. And in regards to the whole creating one of every item in the game, you do actually need to beat the Ethereal Queen a minimum of 5 times to get 5 of her feathers to create 5 different items that do require her feathers. Actually 4, because one of them requires 2 of her feathers. And you need to beat Gabriel Celeste to get his feathers, about, I think 8 of them, if I remember right. I remember it's 5 for the Ethereal Queen. I think it might be 8 for Gabriel, or it might be 5 as well for him, but I could be wrong about that. I just can't remember off the top of my head. It's just that beating the queen was so much of a massive pain in the ass that one was key to me. And also I spent a significant majority of my time doing the battle trophies as opposed to, item creation, because I had done that long before I even really started to hunker down on those battle trophies. Yeah, it's a massive annoyance to go through it. Now, like I said, going for this platinum trophy is absolutely not worth it, but if you're after the prestige, and the fact that on this website it does say 0.86% at the moment, absolutely worth it if you just want to go for that pure prestige. But beyond that, there is really no reason to, because the game is actually not... The game is okay at best. It's just that there's so much stuff that you kind of hate about it, really. Specifically, everything to do with the main characters. Because Star Ocean 5, Integrity and Faithlessness, actually improves upon every single aspect that it is possible. The characters are a lot better, the story is a lot better, even if it's not your most favorite, even if it isn't your favorite Star Ocean game, which generally people say Second Evolution, which is the second game and is getting a remake later on this year. But also you've got Star Ocean 3, which I think is the general favorite in terms of consensus. Like, it is certainly not the worst. I would argue that Star Ocean 4 is absolutely the worst Star Ocean that I've played personally, and I would never go back and replay it, even for the platinum of the PS4 version, which, I mean, I have. Maybe I'll play it for fun for a little bit, but honestly I might just end up getting PTSD from just playing the PS3 version and trying to go for its platinum. But yeah, I think I've just talked enough smack about this game. Let me know what you guys think about Star Ocean 4, especially if you have played it before, because I would like to hear other people's opinions, and I feel like they're likely going to align with mine, because that's what the general online scene seems to be. But I mean, if you've got a different opinion, all the more reason why I'd like you to share it. But with all that said and done, if you like the video, like the video. If you didn't, dislike it, and comment below again about the game if you've played it especially, and if you haven't, have I like completely unsold you on it, have I sold you on it, how are you thinking, feeling? And subscribe to the channel, because I'd like to hit 100 subs by the end of the year, and that's looking possible, but only time will tell whether or not I'll actually be able to hit it. And with all that said and done, I'll see you guys next time.